Welcome to our first Founderology podcast episode. My name is Kathleen Wood, and I am the founder of Kathleen Wood Partners, a growth strategy firm dedicated to propelling founder-led businesses to new levels of success. I am also the founder of the Founders Growth Summit, an amazing event that brings together like-minded visionary restaurant founders who exchange, connect, and accelerate themselves and their businesses together. And that's actually where I met our first guest that we'll be speaking to today. Now, if you're not familiar with me, we are going to become fast friends through the Founderology podcast because I'm going to be talking with trailblazers and founders who are truly building businesses that are built to break through. But today, I am thrilled to introduce our first Founderology podcast guest, Cameron McNee, founder and chief executive of Hawaiian Bros Island Grill. Aloha, Cameron. How are you today?
I'm doing good, Kathleen. Hey, thanks for having me. It's an honor to be on here and to be the first founder on your podcast.
Well, Cameron, we are thrilled. And, the success that you've had, I can't think of anyone more prepared to be the first founder on our podcast than you. So I think maybe we should just jump in because I find your origin story of Hawaiian Bros so interesting and motivating and inspiring that I thought maybe we could just start there with you telling us a little bit about how you left your family's business to really start out on your own with Hawaiian Bros.
Yeah, it's a long story. It started for me back in 2003 when I was 20 years old and my family bought a Hawaiian plate lunch restaurant in Oregon, where I'm from. And I jumped right into that family business, not knowing anything about the restaurant industry at all, and started getting involved. And we grew that business to 10 or so locations over the next decade, and it was really successful. Over time, my brother and I had a bigger vision for what we wanted to do with this genre of food. What we noticed is that there was a lot of white space in the country. No one was really serving Hawaiian plate lunch on a national level, even on a regional chain level. And so, in 2017, we started to kind of put together some ideas of what we could maybe do with it on our own. We happened to reconnect with some childhood friends in the Midwest who actually had started a successful real estate company. They loved the idea and they wanted to kind of invest in the startup. And so, we looked at the Midwest and saw there was nothing like it and thought that, hey, this would be really great out here. And so, we saw the white space in terms of not a lot of Hawaiian plate lunch restaurants, but there was also for us another driving factor. There was some white space in the terms of doing a restaurant differently. We wanted to build a brand and a culture that was not predicated on the same things that some of the tired industry norms have always done. We wanted to do things differently with our culture, with our employees, and really dug into that. So we saw a white space not just in terms of building out a bunch of locations, but also in how we could build a restaurant differently.
Wow, that is fantastic. Cameron, when you think about some of the things that you were thinking about doing differently in terms of building the restaurant, what did that look like to you?
Yeah, when we built the restaurant, we wanted it to look like a national chain. We wanted it to look like something that was replicatable from the beginning. Right. People thought when they saw our first location, they thought, hey, how did I miss this location? What chain is this? And they come in and they hear it's the first one, so we put a lot of effort thinking that this could really be something. On the employee side, we wanted to be known for treating our employees right. We wanted to be known for, paying a little bit above market and having great benefits and ultimately protecting them from burnout, which is so common in the restaurant industry. And that's something that I had seen in my family's business for, a decade prior. And so my brother and I thought, how could we do this differently to minimize burnout, to minimize disengagement, to minimize turnover, and really just treat people the right way and do the right thing. So it was multifaceted on how we looked at how we could do it differently.
And it's obviously paying off because from 2017 to today, you have over 63 locations, hundreds more that are in the franchising pipeline. So I was curious, you're bringing something to the middle of America that hasn't been there before. To your point, a lot of white space with your product, with your people and culture. Did you or your brother have like that aha moment where you're like, oh my gosh, this is all clicking and this really is going to work?
Yeah, the biggest aha moment, which was also kind of a scary moment, was when we opened our Overland Park, Kansas location. I think in June of 2019. That was the third location we opened, and the first two locations we opened in 2018 did really well. They surprised us with the sales. We were really happy with them, and we thought, hey, we might have something here. And then we opened our Overland Park location, and day one was doubling the sales of our first two locations. And it was a better site. And so it surprised us, but it created a lot of problems too. We were not ready for that level of sales. And that's a problem in and of itself. We had throughput issues. We had parking lot and gridlock, and we had to kind of redevelop and redesign how we were going to handle that kind of volume. But that was kind of an aha moment of like, hey, I think we really have something here that people like, and this is going to extend to, any market.
Right. Well, success does bring its own set of new challenges and opportunities, doesn't it? And I mean, to be at that capacity on restaurant number 3 definitely is a great aha. Thinking about breaking through, as you've grown, right, from where you were to where you are and the path that you're still on with opening, into 9 states now, has there been like a breakthrough moment that was really a game changer for you and the team, and you thought, oh, wow, now that we pulled this lever, we are really going to start going?
Yeah, I would say it was the next step in that Overland Park location. So once we saw the demand and we saw what this brand could be, we have to have a breakthrough in how we can service this many guests. And so when you have drive-through lines, that are around the corner, you have to be able to efficiently, move those cars along. And we're a business that, at the time we were 50% drive-through, 50% dine-in. Since then, we've shifted to way more drive-through, way more off-premise than dine-in. That's kind of been the trend in the industry. But we had to redesign our kitchen, and we had to redesign a lot of legacy things that we thought worked well for us. But when it comes to, a great drive-through operation, you have to be able to produce the orders as fast as you can take them. If you're taking the orders faster than you produce them, you're going to get a log jam back there. And that whole process of focusing on speed was really that breakthrough moment that once we dialed that in, we knew we could replicate this.
Wow. So Cameron, as you were doing that with the team, do you have because of the strong culture you have and the culture, the aloha spirit where you're trying to keep everyone engaged and part of the process, did the team come in and help you with some of that? Or how did you include the team in trying to solve, really crack the code of how to make it work, to its optimum performance?
Yeah, absolutely. I certainly wouldn't take the credit for the decisions that we made. One of the things that we started doing after that third location is hiring some, industry experts. I mean, I'll be the first one to admit I wasn't an industry expert. I knew our brand really well. I knew what I had done since 2003, but there were people that, have scaled restaurants, and I'm not a person that at that time that had scaled a restaurant. And so we absolutely brought a team. We had hired Scott Ford, who's now our CEO, and he was instrumental in helping us with our throughput problems and rethinking the kitchen, because rethinking the design of the restaurant in a lot of ways, because it's very easy to get stuck in what has worked, and you have to be open to evolving.
Oh my gosh, that's exactly what I was thinking about when you were speaking, is like sometimes people, when I work with talking founders, they get stuck and they're like, this is the only way we can do it. And it's like, but what about all these other opportunities? So I love what you're saying about bringing in the expertise and the people that could help you really unleash the potential of the concept at that point, right?
Absolutely.
When you think about it today and the fact that you've scaled up to 60-something locations, 9 states, probably many more, got a robust franchise pipeline, what do you think some of the challenges that founders or even your team and you face in scaling the business right now?
Yeah, I think the one thing we didn't realize as we started scaling and growing fast, and we really started growing a lot in 2020, kind of during the pandemic. One of the things that we did not have maybe the expertise is that you have to grow each department that you have at the same rate. So we did a really good job of growing our operations at the rate of our growth, and we scaled the operations up and did a really good job with that. But, there's other departments. You have finance, you have people, you have supply chain, you have, all that kind of stuff. And you have to put as much effort into each one of those departments, because if one or two of those departments is lagging behind as you're scaling and growing and going fast, then you pay the price for that later. And so, one advice I would give just back to myself at the time is, hey, we could have probably gone a little slower and thought of a few things. It worked out and we were innovative and whatnot, but you really have to pay attention to every single one of those departments and make sure you got the right people there and the right people that can scale. Because the people that were there, that have the skill set for a restaurant brand, that has 10 locations might not be the same skill set you need for a restaurant location, restaurant brand that has 60 locations. So scaling every department was kind of that thing we realized we needed to do.
Yeah, it's that shift from being like 1 minute we're running and leading operations. The next moment, though, of our growth, we have to start building the company to support operations and to support our growth. And I love that you're saying that, Cameron, because I do think that, when you're at a certain size, everyone is inherently focused on operations. But to your point, the successful companies such as your own, they really invest in building the company, not the bureaucracy of it, but the experts in the company to help scale the company more efficiently and effectively as you grow. That's for sure. When you think about this idea of like scaling, breaking through, some of the challenges, some of the opportunities. One of the questions that I always get asked is, what keeps the founder's fuel going? Because some people could say, hey, you made it, so you're great, why keep going? But what do you think kind of fuels your passion and your motivation to continue to bring Hawaiian Bros and your amazing food out to the masses, so to speak?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, first thing, I'll respond to one of the things that you just said. Hey, when people come and, hey, you made it, like you can't ever think like that, right? Yeah. The minute you think you've made it is the minute you stop being innovative. It's the minute you get comfortable. It's when you slow down. And so that's a mindset that I try not to have, is that we made it. We're gonna install some sort of new operational procedure, and we already know a year or two from now we're gonna have to break that and rethink it, because we're gonna outgrow it. And so you can't ever think that you're going to make it or you've made it. You always have to be thinking that the finish line is somewhere out in the distance that you're always striving towards but never get to. And so that's one mindset that I like to have personally. Beyond that, I have my own vision for my personal legacy. Beyond financial success and all of that of having a successful restaurant brand, my own personal vision is that we're known as a brand that really did right by their employees. That's so important to me. I've just seen it too much in not just restaurant brands, but other types of businesses where the employees were not the first thought. And it's not even about the return we can get on that. It's about doing the right thing. The return will happen. I really believe that if you treat people right and do the right things, that will happen. One of the kind of innovative things, sacrificial things that I think we did early on is that health insurance is such a big deal in today's day and age, and it's expensive. And we didn't want my brother and I and other people involved. We didn't want our employees worrying about health insurance. And so for our management and salaried positions, people that are really trying to make a career out of, working for Hawaiian Bros, we decided as a company to pay 100% of their health insurance premiums, as well as their family, spouse and kids. And we get a really good health plan. And we just take that off the table as something that they need to worry about. And that's the kind of legacy that I want to have. I don't know of any other brand that's doing that. And it's a cost. It's an absolute cost to us but it is so appreciated. And I believe that, the people that work for us, they feel cared about. That's just one example, but they feel cared about, that we're taking care of their health insurance and their long-term health and all of that. And so, doing things like that is kind of the legacy I want to have. And that keeps me going. That keeps me motivated.
Oh my gosh, I love that. So you're really living and leading the Aloha spirit, right? Can you maybe take a moment and just kind of share with the listeners, the Aloha spirit, because it really does fit into, that is a great investment. That does take a lot of, health insurance, a great investment, takes a lot of pressure off of managers, lets them have security for their family, I mean, that's amazing. But it fits into your culture with the Aloha spirit, doesn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. We talk in our company, kind of our mission statement is spreading positivity through the Aloha spirit. And, people ask, well, what is the Aloha spirit? I sum it up personally. You can sum it up in different ways, but, two phrases that people are very familiar with, is treat others the way you would want to be treated, and giving is better than receiving. And those are two principles that I like to live by and run this company by. I want to treat people the way I would want to be treated. I want to give more than I receive. And if you do those things, you kind of live by our mission statement of spreading positivity through the Aloha spirit. And I think good things will happen, but I want to emphasize, it's not about doing it so that good things can happen. For me, it's about doing it because I really believe it's the right thing. The good things that will happen out of that, that's the byproduct of that. And that's great. I want good things to happen for our brand. But, even if it wasn't noticed by anyone, I'd still want to do it. It's about doing the right thing when no one's looking.
Yeah, no, so strong. And it really does speak to your success, and it really speaks to, your continued growth and the attraction of great franchisees as you're growing. So, walking your walk and talking your talk, I just think are just so important from, leadership, especially in today's world. That's what people are looking for, and they want to be a part of that. And it definitely shows with the Hawaiian Bros. Cameron, if you were going to give a founder, if you're thinking about advice to a founder, what do you think is one of the most overlooked traits that founders need to focus on to be successful?
Yeah, to me, it's self-awareness. So people that have great self-awareness know what they're good at, and they know their limitations. And it's important to know both of those things, because you want to leverage the things you're good at, and you want to make sure that you are not trying for too long anyways to do the things that you're not good at. When you found any business, I'm assuming, but a restaurant especially, I remember early on, I'm wearing 20 different hats, and you have to. But I shouldn't have been wearing 15 of those hats long term. And so self-awareness, if you have good self-awareness, you start to learn that it's okay not to be good at all those things. I'm not the CFO, right? I'm not the chief people officer. I'm not these things. And as you grow, you need to know when to bring those people on, and then how to learn from them. I have learned so much from our team of industry experts that have come from bigger brands than anything I've been personally involved in. And so, but there's also, if you do not have that self-awareness, you likely might fall into the trap of wearing those hats for too long. And I think you really stifle growth when founders wear the hats they shouldn't be wearing too long. You can stifle growth.
Oh my gosh, that is such great advice. And all I can say is I 1,000% agree with you. I think the idea, it doesn't make anybody less than when you bring in people that know more than, potentially you do, because it's their expertise that fuels the growth, that cuts the, the months and the years and all the trial and error out. If they're, share a vision of success, it's some of the greatest investments I think, successful founders make in their business, is bringing in that expertise to help them grow. It's fantastic. Yeah. When you talked a little bit about mindset, Cameron, and your mindset around this and your core beliefs, right? What else would you say, when I talk to founders, I think a lot of the game when you're growing is because it's a roller coaster, right? So some of it is you have to have that mindset that's like, we're going to do this. There's no turning back. When you talk about your mindset and the fact that, it ties to your personal legacy, it ties to what you want to do for people. What would you encourage other founders to have with either their mindset or habits that you've seen successfully work for you and your team?
Yeah, I think in our brand, we've all read Seven Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. And the big one for me is begin with the end in mind. I don't think we did that intentionally originally. I mean, in some senses we did, but I hadn't read the book when we had started this brand. And since then I've read it, but unintentionally we did begin with the end in mind. And that was a mindset. The end that we wanted was, hey, we want to be a national Hawaiian plate lunch restaurant chain that is serving areas of the country that have never had Hawaiian plate lunch. It was the genre of food I knew and grew up with. And in Oregon, we ate it all the time, and then my family bought it, and it just hasn't been done. And so when we talk about beginning with the end in mind, what does that mean? Well, it means we need to have locations that look like it could be a national concept. We need to have policies and procedures that start having the hint of, a bigger brand than we are. Everything we did from the beginning, we did it as if we were 3 or 4 times bigger than we currently were, and that's beginning with the end in mind and looking to the future and believing that you can be something bigger. One of the things that our CEO, Scott, talks about, and I didn't even realize this was so risky until looking back on it. Sometimes you don't realize the risks you actually took until later on. But one of the things that was funny, we opened our Belton location, our first location in Belton, Missouri in February of 2018. We're actually just about to come up on our 7-year anniversary. Yeah. And we actually had our Lawrence, Kansas location under construction before the first location opened. So our second location was under construction before the first location was open. And looking back, I'm like, that might not have been the smartest thing, but it was part of, we were beginning with the end in mind. We knew we wanted to be a chain. So of course, we're going to start opening locations, before we prove out the concept for 2 or 3 years. We had confidence in it. So begin with the end in mind is one thing I would definitely say.
Oh, I love that. And plus I'm a big fan of Stephen Covey too. I just love that. Thank you for that, Cameron. Yeah. It's so fascinating, Cameron. You and I could talk for hours about things because, there's just the depth and the breadth and all your success. And I'm confident you have so many more insights to share with founders out there. So it's amazing to me that we're almost out of time at this moment. Yeah. So I want to just click over to a couple of rapid fire questions. Are you ready?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Number 1, do you have a favorite Hawaiian Bros menu item that you think every customer should try?
Yeah, for me, I always get the Molokai chicken. I will mix it with others just to make sure I'm trying the food. But the Molokai chicken, it's a little sweet, it's a little spicy. It's a great glaze on top of a teriyaki base, and that's my favorite.
Oh my God. Okay, do you have a favorite Hawaiian Sun beverage?
Oh, I know them by the colors of the can. Right. I can't ever remember the names. I think it's the can that's black. I think it's Lilikoi Passion, but I think that's my favorite one.
Oh my gosh, those look delicious. If you had one word that would sum up your journey as a founder of Hawaiian Bros right now, what would that word be?
One word, probably passion.
Oh, love it. And you've shared a lot of great advice today on this. I hope founders are out there taking notes after this podcast, to be honest with you, Cameron. But if you had one more piece of advice you'd like to share with founders that are really looking to break through with their concept, what would that be?
Make sure you understand the why. The why are you doing this? I really think the why needs to go beyond financial motivation. You have to have something that you really care about that's bigger. I mean, the financial piece of it's huge. It's got to be, you got to have that in order, and you got to make money. I mean, brands don't exist that aren't profitable, but you have to have a why that's deeper than that. At least for me, I have to have a why that's deeper than that.
Yep, I love it. And if you had, if our listeners wanted to learn more about Hawaiian Bros, where would they go to find out that information?
HawaiianBros.com. You can place an order for pickup. You can find us on DoorDash, Uber Eats, on the delivery apps. That's a big thing now. And you can find me and our brand and a bunch of other people from our brand on LinkedIn.
Oh, that is fantastic. Thank you, Cameron. And I have to tell you, if you have not been to the Hawaiian Bros website, please go visit it because it's more than food. It's about the aloha spirit, tips and tools for visiting Hawaii. I mean, there was just so much information on that website that was just so helpful on many levels, Cameron. So congratulations on an amazing website. And definitely make sure if you're in an area to visit Hawaiian Bros, please do. Cameron, I just really want to say thank you so much for being our first podcast, the first guest on the Founderology podcast. It has been amazing having you here. I appreciate, and I'm sure all of our listeners do, your insights, your thoughts and your practical, ideas and, resources, solutions for people should be thinking about as they're trying to break their business through and be successful just like you. So thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, Kathleen, for having me. It's always good to catch up, and it was an honor to be on with you today.
Well, thank you. And for our listeners, remember to subscribe so you'll get notified when new episodes become available. And we will definitely see you the next time. And until then, get out there and make it a breakthrough day. Thank you all so much.